What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Gear Garden. This week we are taking a dive into Cottage gear quilt companies, specifically Griffin Gear and JacksRBetter quilts. First of all, I really want to thank Gary from Griffin Gear. I talked on the phone with him for a while. He's a great guy. He used to work for NASA and he's been designing gear for like 40 plus years, I believe. Sorry if I got that wrong, Gary, but I really enjoyed talking with you and I really appreciate you sending me this piece of gear, as well as Don from JacksRBetter Quilt. Both of these guys are legends in this industry. They've both been doing this for a long time and it's their true passion to make the best pieces of gear for people like us who love to use and abuse gear. So let's get right into it. This is an azure blue on the outside and a black inner shell. It is, both sides are a 10D nylon shell and it is water resistant, I think a little waterproof as well. And they use a 900 fill power down, which is pretty high, but the most premium part of this quilt is that they do an 80% overstuff. Yes, I said 80%. Most other companies do 25 or 30, but this thing has a massive loft and it shows when you're really using it. This has a fully sewn baffle, so there is no cold spots in this quilt in its entirety. And this one that he sent me, I believe, is actually a custom one, and it's got a lot of the extras that a lot of these other ones do not have, like this really insane draft collar with a nice cinch down the middle, as well as some buttons that you can button it around your neck, which I feel like a lot of quilts do have and companies do offer. But the amount of down that's stuffed inside of this little draft collar is insane. You can just see it and feel the fluff in here. It's beautiful. One thing that he did mention to me is that he is a big fan of the sewn foot box, which I like having the option of having it shut or closed, but for Gary, his biggest thing was he is eliminating any potential cold spots that can come through. So with a lot of the other quilts that do have the optional zip or cinch boxes, there is always going to be a hole. So it's truly never completely shut and it does not eliminate cold spots perfectly, even though it's fine. He is focused on solely keeping the maximum amount of warmth in your quilt, and this quilt does an amazing job at that with this foot box, as well as it's not sewn too high. I've used a couple other quilts that'll have this thing up to here, and it might as well be a sleeping bag, but this is not the case. It is a nice, suitable length. As well as it also has this really cool adjuster at the bottom of your foot box to kind of pull the quilt closer to your body at the bottom of your body as well. And then pairing that with these straps for your pad, it just keeps the warmth in and it traps it all in so good. This particular quilt is 74 inches, so it fits someone up to 5'11". Now, if you're someone that likes your quilt covering your head at night, I would recommend going bigger, because this one on me comes to about right here. So unless you have all the extra warmth and things like that, or you don't need the extra warmth, this is fine for you. But if you're someone that does like to potentially cover your head at night, I would recommend sizing up, because these are very true to size, which is a big pro, because extra material that you might not need just means extra weight that you don't need, and it's more dispersal of heat instead of on your body. It's kind of just extra gear that you don't need to bring. Okay, and the coolest part about this is that it has a differential cut. So I'd say like almost every quilt on the market except for this one, please correct me if I'm wrong, have the same cut, meaning the top piece is the same length as the bottom piece, so it kind of just meets at the edges and it cuts. What he has done on here is made this top shell longer, so it creates almost like a cylinder effect on the quilt, which I'm going to do a poor job at showing because it's kind of tricky to show this. Maybe I'll catch some B-roll of it happening. But what happens is it causes the down to not stay in the middle and kind of rolls to the sides. That way it's creating more of this cylinder of down over you, and it traps the heat in more, because instead of the down just kind of floating away, it's causing it to kind of go on the sides, from what I remember him telling me, and it traps the heat in even better. That way you stay warmer longer. This quilt comes in the size medium, 74 inches, around 25 ounces and some change. You know, that's not heavy at all. It's under 2 pounds, and with the 80% overstuff for a 20-degree quilt, you're honestly pushing it a little more under 20 degrees, I would say. You could probably get this down to a little colder. I'm not saying go try it, but I am saying with an 80% overstuff, you're basically getting 2 quilts worth of down in one. So that extra weight kind of pays off if you're someone that really wants to make sure that you're going to be warm all night and every night. And a quilt like this, it does not come with the cheap price tag, but that is because you're getting something that will last you a very long time, especially if you take care of it. I believe this one's around $460 to $480. But like I said, you're getting 80% overstuff of 900 fill down. You're getting that tubular technology that creates almost a wrap of the down versus the flat. You're getting the nice draft collar, you're getting the straps, the cinch at the foot box, with the sewn foot box, so you're getting more than enough for the price that you're gonna put down for a quilt like this. As you can see, the inner here, it's beautiful. It's more than wide enough to where I'm gonna turn over and it's not gonna roll off of me. It's just a sexy quilt. Also, the people that are making these quilts are Gary and his wife. There's no one else doing this. So like the person that's making the gear is the owner, the creator, the tester. Everyone that is doing it is them. These people deserve so much more shine than they get. I know that they were on Garage Grown Gear for a little while. They're not doing it anymore from what I understand. So we need to support these companies because they make just as good a gear, if not better gear, than every one of the other companies that we mess with. So please support them. Moving on to our next company. This is the JacksRBetter quilt. This is the Big Meadow, I believe the Ultralight quilt. This quilt comes in around $460 to $480 as well. Similar price point, just as high of quality. This particular quilt weighs about 16.5 ounces. So, you know, we're not comparing these two quilts by any means. It's just two different companies that I'm putting a light on. This one does come in about almost 10 ounces lighter, but the con of that is that it doesn't have as much of the overstuff. This does have a 25% overstuff, which is more than enough for most people. Like I said, that's still gonna keep you plenty warm. This is also a 20-degree quilt, but this does have a lot of different pieces of it and components compared to the other one. So it is kind of a nice video to compare and contrast quilts to. With this one, I wanna start with the foot box because I just mentioned that, you know, hypothetically, more heat can escape from a foot box that is not sewn, that is just cinched and buttoned, which is totally true. And there is really no arguing that unless you know you have warm socks and warm gear on. But this one does have a cinch foot box right here. But the pro of having a cinch foot box and a button foot box is that you can unbutton it and it no longer is just, you know, a sleeping bag / mummy bag quilt. It's truly just a big quilt, you know. So it's summertime and you want to let your feet out a little bit. This does give you a little more versatility where, you know, whereas a fixed foot box is meant for truly just sticking to the warmth for the quilt, which is totally awesome as well. But if you're someone that likes the option of having both and you're okay with a little bit of the cool air escaping or cool air coming in and warm air escaping, this could be the right option for you. Okay, so this is a 78-inch long quilt, and this quilt is tapered. So it is a 55-inch width at the top, and I believe it is a 45-inch width at the bottom. So, you know, hypothetically for the tapered build, I would assume it's because if you're wrapping the quilt under you, it just kind of gives more spread at the top. When you're rolling over, you have about 10 more inches of versatility to not let the quilt pop over your side to where you get the cold drafts in. This quilt uses 1,000 fill power down stuff, and like I mentioned, it's 25%. So the 1,000 fill power down is lighter, and it technically, I believe on paper, is warmer because of that. You know, Gary at Griffin Gear explained all the down stuff to me, but I can't truly remember everything about it. But I do know that 1,000 fill power down that JacksRBetter uses is lighter, resulting in almost a 10 ounce difference in quilts. But that one does have more stuff, so it's a win or lose for depending on who you are. So this quilt also has some really nice features. It's got a lot of little warm features like this draw cord at the top as well as the bottom, so you can really cinch it around your neck and your head to make sure you're really warm and preventing less cold drafts from coming in. I do know that these quilts are also used for a lot of hammock camping, if I'm not mistaken. That's why they have all these tie-off points on them. So you can still attach pad straps to these, but also you can use this as a top quilt or an under quilt on your hammock, and you can just use rope or some other straps as well, which is another potential pro of this being an open-ended quilt on both ends and not sewn, is it can wrap under your hammock in multiple different ways. But I've never tried hammock camping, and I don't think I ever will, so I won't be using it for that purpose. They do offer a sewn foot box for this, but it does come with an additional cost. So if you're somebody that wants that and you're super fixated on that, they do offer this. It's not just one. You can get either option. It just depends on what your preference is. As you can see, the color of this is a sexy dark olive, as well as a burnt orange on the inside. This gives me very like hunting vibes. I know this is for backpacking and camping, but it's very much like this colorway is very hunterish, and I really love that. It matches my pack I have from Adam Packs really well. So if you're somebody who likes to color coordinate your gear, you know, check them out. They got a bunch of colors on their site too. They also have tons of other quilts on their website. This is not the only one. I know this is one of their quilts that they've been making for a long time. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe from what Don has told me, JacksRBetter is the oldest quilt manufacturer in America. I believe they're the first one to ever do it. And the fact that they're still doing it and that both of these brands are making all of their gear on American soil is a big win for all of us, and it makes gear more accessible for us to get. So as I mentioned before, another pro of the potential not sewn in foot box is the adjustability of how tall you want your foot box to be. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different clips or pins or buttons, whatever you want to call them, that I can change. So if I'm feeling that's too tall and I just want my toesies covered in here, I can literally lower it to, I don't know, maybe less than a foot of space, so you can move your shins out, you can move your knees around, and it's got a lot more versatility that way. But here's the inside of this bad boy. That bright orange. You can see the straps on the outside of that thing to tie on things to it or around it, as well as the clip at the top here. Just clip it in there. You can tighten it so it creates more of this nice neck seal to prevent the cold air from coming in. Huge shout out, like I said, to Griffin Gear and JacksRBetter Quilts. Gary, Don, you're both amazing people. It was great talking to both of you, and thank you guys for working with me and letting me test out and use these quilts. Please make sure you like this video, you comment, you share it. I'll post the links for these quilts down below, and I'll see you next week on the Gear Garden. Don't forget to subscribe.